everyone, welcome to video number 2. By the way, thanks so much you guys for those of you guys who tuned in to my first video, who liked it, who shared comments, and you know, for those of you guys who just encouraged me. I honestly felt so deeply humbled that people were actually quite interested in, you know, in the stuff that I want to be able to share with you guys. But it also just means that people are ready for it. People are ready to finally start to feel better. People are acknowledging that, you know, there is something going on inside of them that they don't understand. And so I really feel that everyone is kind of clamoring for this kind of, you know, this kind of content. And I'm just glad to be a conduit for courage and a conduit for change, and to help you guys, you know, be the best version of yourself, aka your most authentic self. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is essentially just kind of give you a little bit of background as to who I am and what are some of the influences from my childhood days that informed why I made this big jump towards my reinvention. Because I think that a lot of the experiences that we have in our childhood end up becoming, you know, a catalyst for who we become, you know, as an adult. And I feel that my experience is not really unique. I feel that a lot of the experiences that I've had and that sort of led me to live the life that, the idealized life, the ideal life that I had led, you know, is not really unique to me. I feel that everyone to a certain degree experiences, you know, this phenomenon. And so I want to kind of give you a little bit of an idea as to how I got here, right? So I'm a product of an immigrant family. My family and I moved here when I was 11 years old. My mom, who is unbelievably brave and courageous. I actually feel that, you know, if there is any ounce of bravery that I have, I really learned it from her. She basically, like, you know, left our comfortable life in the Philippines and moved us here when I was 11. But you see, at the age of 11, it's kind of a hard time to essentially move to a different country, especially because I didn't know how to speak English. And so growing up, I got made fun of a lot, right? And I feel that that is actually something that every kid experiences. You know, I remember raising my hand, you know, to answer a question, and my English would be all discombobulated. And so I got made fun of a lot, and you know, I started to really understand that I was kind of different from everyone else. And at that age, you know, you want to build your community, you want people to like you. And so I learned to essentially dislike myself, dislike the version of me that that was really authentic to me, because I wanted to make friends and I wanted people to like me. And so I think, you know, what's really unfortunate, you know, about our education system is sometimes, you know, kids just end up wanting to be like everyone else, and we don't really allow, you know, the true beauty and brilliance, our true and unique beauty and brilliance to get harnessed, because we're dealing with so many social things that we don't understand as kids. And so I grew up not really liking myself. I actually grew up feeling like I wanted to be someone else. I wanted to be white. You know, I didn't want to be Filipino. I didn't even assimilate with the Asians back then, because I'm kind of Asian, but I'm kind of not, right? Like I'm a Pacific Islander. Most of my Asian peers were either Japanese or Chinese, but there weren't a lot of Filipinos. And so I felt very confused about my own identity. And so I kind of grew up wanting to not be me. I wanted to be somebody else. Thankfully, you know, I felt that, you know, a lot of my experiences actually led me to my eventual success. And I feel very grateful and humble that I had the opportunity to, you know, go to one of the best universities in the nation, UC Berkeley, and landed myself a lot of amazing opportunities and jobs that allowed me to feel that deep sense of success that society, you know, creates for us, right? As they say, the American dream, if you will. And I'm glad that I was able to finally experience it so that my curiosity around it would eventually wane. Because once I got there, once I, felt like I was able to check all of the boxes, in terms of the ideal life that, that I learned, I wanted to aspire to have, I eventually realized that I was still feeling this internal ache inside of me. And as I mentioned, in the past, I feel that our unhappiness in many ways is the gap between who we really are and who we pretend to be. Right? And I feel that a lot of people actually, look, like performance is something that is inherent in our society. It's not bad. It doesn't mean that you're being fake. It just means that you are not allowing your true uniqueness and brilliance to really shine. And there is something inside of us that makes us different and also makes us beautiful. And so, when I got to New York in 2016 after this amazing stint, leading global communications for Yahoo, I've always wanted to live in New York, and so I was able to check that box. But I realized, I was like, wow, like I think I'm just chasing my own tail, because no matter how successful I feel I have become, no matter how much of the life that, society has told me that we should all aspire to have, I eventually got it, like I was still very unhappy. And so I didn't really realize that my unhappiness was because I just didn't love myself enough. I actually really didn't like myself at all. I was afraid to basically be who I was, because again, we're programmed, at a very early age to essentially perform, right? And so I said to myself, you know what? This is the only time in my life where I can probably just hop off, figure it out, and then maybe like I'll come back to this life again if I find out that there is no other way. Thankfully, within a year's time, I was able to say like, oh my God, the entire problem was really anchored in the fact that I didn't really understand who I was, and I didn't really like myself very much. And so I've spent the last year just trying to, put the right building blocks in place around self-love. And I'll talk a little bit about this process that I kind of dabbled into in my first video about self-care, self-love, and self-honor, because I really feel that it's a powerful framework for people to really start to feel better. And so today I just want to share with you guys some techniques or some things, some small steps that you can take, in terms of initiating your own reinvention. These are the obviously things that I did myself, and so I want to make sure that that I've done this myself before I can share it with you guys. And again, there is no cookie cutter model here, you guys. I just want to say that everything that I've done worked for me, but I would also invite you to put your own flair into these processes. These are, again, very simple things that you can do today in order to even just jumpstart your reinvention. Okay, so one thing that I did was just reject the notion that we as humans are designed to suffer. I just rejected that. I feel that one of the things that's actually quite sad these days is that, there's lots of really successful people who are dying inside, and they basically just either give into, that feeling and say like, well, maybe life is meant to be, be full of suffering. Well, for me, I decided to reject that notion. And so when I rejected that notion, I started to open up the other possibilities in terms of what could there be, where could I find eternal happiness and bliss, right? If it's not here, it's got to be somewhere else. And so I just want you to really focus on just this week, just say, it's not normal for me to experience this deep sense of internal suffering, so I'm going to just reject it completely and just open up your awareness around other possibilities that you could explore. The second thing that I would recommend you guys do is just activate your consciousness. There is a scientific research out there that suggests that at the age of 35, we're pretty much becoming habitual people, right? Meaning we are not conscious about the things that we're doing. Every day we do the same exact thing. We brush our teeth, we make breakfast, we get in our cars, we basically drive to work, we go to work, we come home, we make dinner, we have dinner, etc., right? Whatever that routine is for you, I would just invite you for this week to activate your consciousness. Be aware of the things that you're doing, right? Like, meaning just understand your patterns and maybe just even, change it up a little bit, right? And do something completely different from your routine, because again, our subconscious basically has allowed us to become habitual people. And so if you're gonna open up other possibilities, you're gonna have to step out of your habits. And so just being cognizant of your surroundings and your own patterns is gonna be very, very critical. It's a very simple thing, but it's highly critical. And then finally, the third, I would take a media break. Okay, guys, I was in PR, so I was ingesting a lot of content. There is a lot of, we don't leave enough room for us to actually create space for our thoughts, right, in our minds. I would just say, get rid of the external influences and start to really listen to your inner voice. Start to listen to your intuition and your inner intelligence. You guys, our bodies and our minds and our thoughts are constantly talking to us. Just be aware of what it's trying to say to you, right? Be aware, just listen to that inner voice and listen to how you're feeling. Those are really powerful ways for you to really just start to get to know who you are. And so, as a way for me to put a cap on this second video, I would just invite you to journal thoughts, to journal some observations that you're making about yourself and about your own tendencies and even patterns. Just journal, just get it all out on paper, right? Because I feel that this is one way for you. This is certainly was a powerful way for me to start understanding some patterns. I mean, I started to understand, wow, like I find myself moving every 2 years. I found myself changing jobs every 4 years. And I started to really understand what are those patterns. And having that sense of awareness around your patterns will eventually, again, allow you to understand who you are and where you're at, so that you can then figure out where you need to go. And so that's it, you guys. I hope you guys found this video helpful, and the tools that I was able to share with you guys. Again, there is no cookie cutter model here. These are just things that it's largely worked for me. And these are very small exercises, you guys. Like, I don't want to overwhelm you with things, particularly in the beginning, but these are the things that, that really helped initiate my journey towards reinvention. And so, in the next video, I'll talk a little bit more about, what are some of the things that you can do from here on forward. Again, guys, love and light as always. I love you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Mwah. Thank you again for tuning in.